I'm feeling negative today, ladies and gentlemen. I am feeling negative. We are going to be breaking down the biggest running back busts in fantasy football this year. As you guys all should know, a couple of days ago I uploaded a video on the must-own running backs for fantasy football. But now I'm about to show you guys the running backs that you guys should be avoiding in this year's fantasy football draft. Let's just get into it. All right, the first player I have on the list is Joe Mixon. Where the hell is he? Here he is. He's ranked as the 20th overall player and the number 13 running back. No! Let me tell you guys a little story about Joe Mixon, okay? I picked Joe Mixon last year with my first round pick, and, yeah, it went horrible. It was like I was utilizing the zero RB strategy, okay? This guy, he is not the one. And I'll be honest with you guys, it's not even his fault. Let me say this, okay? The guy was a talent, all right? He's been a talent since he came out of Oklahoma. This guy's nice. The issue with the Bengals is their front office and their coaching staff, particularly Zach Taylor. Let me get Zach Taylor's face up on the screen while I talk about this guy. This guy right here is the most unreliable coach in fantasy football history. When this guy's at a press conference, okay? Let me get a press conference photo. When he's at a press conference, it's like he doesn't have any team doctors. Me and my fellow Joe Mixon owners continuously were fooled by his ignorance. Damn, those are some big-ass words. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you weren't following Joe Mixon or the Bengals, which, you know, I don't blame you. Nobody follows the Bengals. Let me explain to you what happened last year, okay? I'm still getting worked up about this. Even though I won my fantasy football league, I'm still getting mad over this. So he got hurt in week 6 against Indianapolis, right? He had a 40-point week. He was starting to get things going. Week 6 was October 18th, 2020. He proceeded not to play the next 2 weeks, week 7, week 8. Week 9 was a bye week. Then he skips out week 10, and, you know, I'm starting to get a little worried about the guy, because at that time, Zach Taylor made it seem like he was going to come back after the bye week. Week 10 was on November 15th, right? And then on November 18th, Zach Taylor comes out and says, Joe Mixon is day-to-day. We'll see how the week goes to determine his practice status. Day to day. So, you know, I start rubbing my hands, all right, like I'm Birdman. I'm like, okay, you know, my first round pick, he's about to come back. I'm about to take this chip home. Psych! 3 days later, on November 21st, the Bengals placed Joe Mixon on IR. How do you go from day to day to IR in 3 days? But he wasn't done there. He would continuously tease the fact that Joe Mixon could come back from IR the rest of the year. Somehow he was day to day in week 10, but then he ended up missing the next 7 weeks, all right? I don't know how that happens. Ask Zach Taylor. Yes, this guy has top 10 running back talent. I will admit that. But his head coach, man, I'm telling you, this is Adam Gase levels. Number 17 ADP. That's way too high for me. I'm not picking Joe Mixon in the 2nd round. I might not even pick him in the 3rd round. If he slips to the 4th, maybe. But 17 is way too high for Joe Mixon. Overrated. Do not pick him. Another thing to add to Joe Mixon as well is, I don't even think I should mention this, but we all know Cincinnati's O-line is trash. I mean, look at these yards per carry numbers, all right? The only week he had 6 was because he was playing Jacksonville, all right? I can get 6 yards per carry on Jacksonville. Anybody can do that. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't touch Joe Mixon this year, and I don't think you guys should either. Next on our list is Josh Jacobs, all right? He's the number 20 running back at the moment, number 36 overall. So according to ADP, he's going late 3rd round. I don't know about this guy this year. Last year, he was arguably a 1st round pick, if not a 1st round pick. First things first is the Raiders lost 3 of their O-linemen, all right? They lost Trent Brown, they lost Rodney Hudson, and they lost Gabe Jackson on their O-line. For such a run-heavy player like Josh Jacobs, that's an issue when you lose your center and your right guard. Yes, they drafted Alex Leatherwood in the 1st round, which many people thought it was a reach. You know, I thought it was a reach too. I don't know. I swear, Mike Mayock just only looks at the best schools in college football. He just doesn't care about the player. As long as they're from the best schools, he's taking them in the draft. But anyways, this guy's durability is very impressive. I'll give him that. With the amount of carries and snaps the Raiders were giving this guy and to only skip out on week 13, that's pretty impressive. However, man, for PPR, he just doesn't get enough targets and receptions to be a 3rd round running back. Another thing is, they also brought in Kenyon Drake, who was also a 1st round running back last year. He definitely didn't play like one. He was horrendous last year. But he's going to take a lot of carries and a lot of targets from Josh Jacobs as well. I'm just not very confident in Josh Jacobs this year. I don't know if the Raiders are going to be that good of a team. And so he can also get countered by game script too. If they're falling behind, he might not be in the games as much. It's a fade for me. Even though he's a good player, it's a fade for me. I'm not picking Josh Jacobs this year in my fantasy draft. Last player on this list who you should absolutely fade on is James Robinson. And let's just start with the most obvious reason why you shouldn't pick this guy, all right? Look how far back his hairline is pushed. That's an absolute crime, okay? That's a Stephen A. Smith cut right there. Now, the second most important reason is because Travis Etienne. Do I think Etienne should be the feature back? Do I think it's fair on James Robinson? Absolutely not. Bro, this guy James Robinson last year as a rookie was nasty. Over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. This guy was doing it on the ground, over the air. This guy was doing it all, man. With the Jaguars. He was literally doing this while they were losing every game. Like, the game script wasn't even in his favor, and he was still going crazy. He literally exceeded all expectations last year. Nobody was expecting James Robinson to go for 250 fantasy points. Like, that's just unheard of. However, the GM and the coach who believed in James Robinson were kicked to the curb. And rightly so. And then, you know, they bring in big old Urban Meyer, who's like Mr. College Football. He just decides to take over both jobs as head coach and GM. And he pretty much tells James Robinson to piss off, right? He drafts Travis Etienne with a first-round pick. And I just feel so bad for him, man, because there's just so much potential here, but it's gonna get wasted. But you can't be picking this guy in the second round when he's virtually a handcuff now, all right? This isn't the same thing with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. This isn't the same situation. Maybe you can stash him as an RB3, RB4 in case, you know, Travis Etienne gets hurt. But other than that, I don't really see a lot of space for James Robinson on my fantasy football team this year. I just kind of feel bad for the homie, man, because, you know, he's an undrafted free agent. He seems like a happy dude, you know. He's got a horrible barber. It sucks, man. This whole video sucked. I hated doing this video. I was so excited at the start of the video. Now I just feel bad for all these guys, man, because, like, same with Josh Jacobs. It's like, dude, what are you gonna do when Mike Mayock screws you over? Joe Mixon as well, man. It's literally all front office issues. So yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about this list, man. Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, and James Robinson. Who else would you guys fade in this year's fantasy football draft? Let me know in the comments down below before I hop into my fantasy draft and I accidentally draft one of those players, all right? Let me know quick. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'm out.